My parents did an incredible job of raising me in church. There's not a day I can remember not knowing that God loved me and that Jesus wanted relationship with me. But at 15 years old, it seemed like my life came crashing down. See, my dad was a high-profile person in our community. He was a football coach, principal, and in leadership. One day after school, we got news that my dad was being accused of some egregious things. Those things were untrue and proven untrue, but at the moment, in that moment, my world came crashing down. We went through a very public criminal case against my dad that lasted a year. It ate away at me on the inside. How could something like this happen to my dad? And in a moment of interrogation at 15 years old, I was sitting across the table from some lawyers, some investigators. But in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, Derek, you cannot mess up. Just imagine what will happen to your dad, to your family, if you mess up. I began to try and be perfect. And what I realized quickly was that that's impossible. I tried to show the world that Derek Dunn was great and fine and perfect on the inside. I was being eaten alive. See, Christianity for me was what I did for God, but what I had neglected to see and did not hear was truly what it meant that Jesus did something for me. So I spent this long period of life battling with sin, battling with trying to be perfect and failing miserably, and looking for acceptance in places and in friendships and relationships that just could not offer what I needed deep on the inside. So finally, after years, I remember having a conversation with God. I said, God, I love you, but I am terrible at serving you. I'm finished trying to do this on my own. If there is such thing as a Christian life, I want to know what it really is. I don't want it to just be shaped by my parents or shaped by some false perception I have in my mind. I want a relationship with God that is based on truth. The gospel began to come alive to me. For the first time, I realized that the Christian life was not about what I was going to do for God, but it was about what God in Jesus Christ had done for me. If it is true that I'm saved by grace and it's not what I've done, it's not because of my works, it's not because I have to live this perfect Christian life for God to love me, but if He came and loved me before I ever thought about loving Him, this changes everything. And from that moment forward, I began to devour the Word of God. And it was as if the good news of Jesus was on every page. And I saw the Bible not as a guidebook for me to live some perfect life, but it was a love story of God's love for His people. And He was coming to get me. And it wasn't me clawing myself to Him. It was the extent to which God was coming to get His people. And ultimately, He would give His life for us. There's no more trying to be perfect because the one who is perfect came and gave His life for me. And that's the good news. It's the gospel of Jesus that radically transformed my life. It gave me victory over the sins that had me bound.